When going through the healing process, one of the hardest things to do, yet one of the most important things to do, is to release ourselves from the guilt and the shame of not doing better when we weren't able or didn't know how to do better. And this isn't a cop out. I'm not saying that you're not accountable for how you think or how you acted. However, you stand very little chance of doing things differently when you are constantly berating yourself for how you acted in the past, or for the things that you got wrong, or for the ways in which you hurt people. Because if you think about it, I mean, if you have an employer that is continuously putting you down, that is continuously telling you how dreadful you are and how much you've fucked up in the past, then your motivation levels are going to decrease quite rapidly. Whereas if you have an employer that is extremely compassionate, that yes, holds you accountable for any mistakes that you have made, but that takes you very kindly and compassionately by the hand and leads you to the way that you can do things differently, and guides you, and gives you a sense of being accepted and being valued, and that you still have worth in their eyes, then the likelihood is that you're really going to want to do your best for them. And this is the same when it comes to trying to heal ourselves and trying to become a better person. We have to be kind to ourselves in doing it. And we tend to go into our healing journey, our self-inquiry journey, with very high expectations of becoming a perfect person. And I mean, that's never going to happen. It's not even an actual possibility. So we have to kind of be very realistic about what we expect to gain from this. I think we also assume that we can create a life for ourselves where there is no suffering and where there is no pain, and that we'll never experience struggle again, or that we'll never do a shitty thing, or we'll never lash out. And again, that's not very realistic. We're human beings. I mean, we have all of these urges, we have all of these triggers from our past, particularly if we have had, very difficult past experiences or traumatic past experiences. I mean, we have all of these emotional responses which are extremely uncomfortable at a somatic level, that are driving our thoughts, that are driving our reactions. And all we can do is try to create a heightened sense of awareness of the self and the ego, and the way in which we are trying to defend ourselves, and the things that I suppose bring up very intense reactions in us, and create a little bit of space between us and our reaction, and try to fill that space with compassion and understanding, as opposed to berating ourselves for not doing things better. And it's about just recognizing your patterns, recognizing the way in which you interpret the world, recognizing how much you try to detach yourself from your bodily experience and what your heart is telling you, in a way to try and protect yourself, because we feel our emotions in our bodies, and when we have experienced an awful lot of pain, we develop ways of nearly detaching ourselves from our bodies so that we don't have to experience that pain. But ultimately, that means that we're disconnected from the key messengers that we need in order to fully live and to fully, I suppose, engage with life, engage with our relationships, to move beyond our interpretations and move beyond the conditioned constructs that we have in our mind, and see things objectively and see things from reality, as opposed to seeing things the way that our life has kind of painted a picture for us. And it's been able to scan the body, been able to kind of tap into what's going on in my heart right now, what's going on in my body right now, where am I in pain, what do I need. And it's talking to yourself like you would a little child, as opposed to berating yourself like you would, I don't know, kind of your worst enemy. You wouldn't even speak to your worst enemy the way that you speak to yourself oftentimes. And this is where your meditation practice comes in. It's about compassionately allowing whatever comes up to come up. And I think, again, as I said, we go into a lot of these practices with very high expectations of coming out a transformed person, or coming out feeling no pain, and oftentimes we come out feeling more than we went in with. And That's normal. It's about being able to observe and to tolerate what comes up and to be able to interact with that, as opposed to always trying to avoid it or always allowing it to control you. Because again, we try to fix things up here and assume that the body is going to follow, whereas we need to fix things in the body, and then the mind will follow. And that's a practice, because we have been conditioned to think that we can do everything from a cognitive place, and it's moving beyond that. It's recognizing that there is so much information coming from a somatic source that we need to be able to tap into, and that we need to be able to tolerate, in order for us to be able to steer our lives in the direction that we want to go in. And it's forgiving ourselves for how much we have got wrong and how many mistakes that we've made, because again, you can hold yourself prisoner to your past, and we tend to kind of travel this vicious circle of feeling very egotistical and then feeling really shit about ourselves, and assuming that we're better than everybody else, and then feeling like we're the worst person in the world and we don't deserve love and we don't deserve our own kind of self-respect. And it's kind of finding a middle ground of accountability and leniency, being kind to the self, but also holding oneself in a place where you still show up for yourself and you show up for other people, where you kind of have responsibilities, where you're committed to being a decent person, where you're committed to doing as much as you can for other people, as opposed to being stuck in this self-centered, oh my god, all about me place. Because we do tend to hang out there a lot. We're always thinking about the way things impact on us. We're always focused on ourselves. And this is very much the kind of conditioning that we've received as well, even at a cultural level. It's all about self-care. It's all about, kind of self-love. And whilst these are all amazing attributes and practices, you have to realize that it's not all about yourself. You have to take your head out your ass. And despite the fact that you may have experienced so much struggle and so much suffering, by wallowing in it and over attaching to it, you're not going to move beyond it, So it's about committing to living a more conscious life, committing to recognizing the ways in which you self-sabotage. And I particularly am drawn to acceptance and commitment therapy, because I think it's a beautiful integration of psychotherapy and Buddhist concepts of acceptance and being able to see things the way that they are and not fight your reality, but also committing to taking appropriate action wherever possible and applying agency in any area of your life that you can. And I suppose the more we accept the fact that we're always going to have triggers, that we're always going to have struggles in life, that we're always going to have jealousy and anger and frustration and resentment, and meet that with compassion, as opposed to feeling like we're not meant to feel like that, or there's something inherently wrong with our character, or we're an evil person, the more likely we are to move beyond it, the more likely we are to be able to see our shadow side and accept it lovingly, but recognize that it's an awful lot of it is driven from a place of ego and defensiveness and trying to protect ourselves. And being able to engage with that, being able to say, okay, I know that I'm trying to protect myself here, I'm not doing this from an intentionally bad place, however the result isn't necessarily going to benefit either myself or anybody else, so I need to try and recognize a way to do things differently. And it's continuously inquiring with that, continuously meeting yourself in a non-judgmental way, but yet challenging yourself to be the person that you are capable of being when you allow yourself to throw off the shackles of your past. I hope everyone is having a great day. If you want to find out more about what it is that I do, check out my website. It's fundamentals.ie.